There's several ways of painting from the outdoors. One way is to set yourself outside with all of your materials, your easel, your board, whatever, and you simply sit there and paint. It's referred to as plein air. But for most people, most artists, it's hard to do that constantly. So you have other sources. We've already talked about taking photographs, doing things like that. Now we're going to talk about one of the most important skills that an artist can have, and that's that of drawing. So if you have something that you want to work on, one of the skills that you need to develop is the ability to draw with the thought of what the end piece is going to be. So you're drawing as though you were creating the painting. You might recognize this if you're a winter school student as the stand of willow trees that's in the back south end of the school. So that's our backyard. Now this is in spring. The leaves haven't come all the way out, but when I went out to draw, what I was looking for was bodies of light and dark. And so as I look at this, I have bright places here, I have dark places in here, more dark here where everything's in the shadows. Those were the things that I was looking for. The other thing I was looking for was simplicity. I didn't want to draw everything that's in the tree, so what were the basic shapes that I was looking at? Where were the trunks going? Because this is really thick. I really wouldn't like that in my painting. It'd be hard to depict without it just being a big dark block. And so I sat there and I drew. And what I was doing is trying to find where the shadows were, where everything was the darkest. And also the sun was coming from this side here. And so the heavier shadows on the trunk were on this right side over here, right side of each trunk. Okay? So this is what we want to do, is come up with a very simple sketch. And when you look at my pencil drawing, everything was very quick. I had my pencil, I was just doing it as fast as I could. Okay? So over the years, as we've done this project, I've had the chance to paint this particular scene several times. And each time I try to do something a little bit different. So this is one of the earlier ones that I did. But you can see the lights and darks and the shadows down here. Here I put in a lot more of the trees. Yeah, seemed a little busy to me. So the next time I did it, I eliminated some of the trees. But one of the things that you'll notice is that there's a heavy texture on the trunks. This is called a dry brush technique. And you can do it by mixing up your paint, and then you dry off your brush a little bit. You get enough paint on, and you start dragging it across like your paper towel to see how it's going. And when you start to get a nice stipple texture like that, where the paint's only hitting the high points on the paper, then it's pretty good. And remember, our watercolor paper has a fairly substantial texture. And so you can drag your brush along, and it simulates the bark of the tree, so that you can use it for dirt roads to simulate the gravel, things like that. But this was one of my outdoor drawings. And so I'm using bright yellow for the lightest parts, going all the way through the spectrum to the almost gray greens. This time I was looking just at the shapes, and I wanted to eliminate anything but just the shapes of everything. And so I tried to have the darks back on the lower area and the background. This one, I wanted to do something even more different. So I tried to break up everything as though it was a stained glass window. And so every time there was a break in a space, I changed the color. So instead of keeping the same color all through here, I just rotated the colors through the spectrum. Same thing here. You can see this is basically one shape through here. But every time I had a break, I tried to create a different value. And at the same time, I wanted to keep the overall feel of the lights and darks. Lights on the top, darks in the background. These are a couple of examples of students, the way they interpreted it. So you can see this one left a lot more open air behind the trees. Okay. This student thought of it in a different way, and so she used more of a dry brush technique. Almost looks like a color crayon to some degree, but that was the way that she interpreted how to display those trees. So this is your assignment. Find something outside that you want to draw that would make a good painting. Now, I would suggest that you go out with your newsprint and you do some small sketches, thumbnail sketches, little small vignettes. Find something that you think, now that would be cool. Now, it doesn't have to be trees. It doesn't have to be even organic. It could be machinery. It could be buildings. It could be whatever you like. It could be a landscape. It could almost be like a still life, an outdoor still life. But you're going to draw on a half sheet of sketch paper. This is 18 by 12, and that is going to be graded. And I need to see it online. You can either show it to me during group discussions, during office hours, or you can take a photo of it, send it to me as an attachment on an email. Okay? I would like to see it so I can make any suggestions, give you some help, some hints, whatever. When you're ready to paint, then you're going to paint on, this is a quarter sheet of a large sheet of watercolor paper. It's 15 by 11, and this is the largest piece that we use. We've got, I think, 3 projects that we'll use that size paper on. And so after you finish, you'll turn both of those in together, and each one will be graded as a separate project. So start looking for things that you'd like to paint.